when the atmosphere in the 2026 MotoGP paddock froze and was filled with whispers when shocking news arrived from the Marquez camp. Hopes for a perfect comeback began to falter, and Alex Marquez's disappointment was evident. A shadow of uncertainty hung over a season that had been predicted to be brutal and unforgiving from the start. Will Marc Márquez's comeback end in failure, and who will benefit most from the chaos? Let's discuss. After clinching the 2025 MotoGP World Championship, a monumental achievement after years of struggling with serious injuries and technical changes requiring extreme adaptation, Marc Márquez faced another personal and defining challenge: the serious injury he suffered at the 2025 Indonesian MotoGP. A fractured coracoid bone and damaged shoulder ligaments was a devastating blow at a time that should have marked the peak of his comeback. The injury forced him to undergo surgery, sidelining him from several key races and forcing him to forego the remainder of the season in order to prioritise long-term rehabilitation and his overall career health. The recovery process was far from quick or easy. Marc approached his rehabilitation with a very careful and conservative approach, tailoring each stage to the recommendations of his medical team to minimise the risk of re-injury with potentially permanent consequences. In his latest statement, Marquez openly and honestly admitted that, although his recovery is showing positive signs, he will not be 100% by the start of the 2026 MotoGP season. This admission surprised many, but earned him widespread respect. The champion chose to be realistic and mature rather than sell false optimism amid the intense spotlight of the MotoGP world. In MotoGP, physical readiness is paramount. Speed, racing instincts and experience mean nothing if the body isn't ready to handle the extreme pressures of the track. Marquez himself emphasised that the recovery process for an injury like his is never linear. Some days he feels strong and confident, but other days shoulder stability remains a major concern. Therefore, he realistically acknowledged the possibility that he will not be at peak performance or racing consistency immediately upon his return at the start of the 2026 season. This automatically sparked widespread speculation throughout the paddock. If Marquez isn't at his peak, the world title race will certainly change significantly. Riders like Francesco Bagnaia, Fabio Quartararo, and Pedro Acosta saw a much greater opportunity to take the lead. However, MotoGP's long history has taught an important lesson. Marquez can never be underestimated, even when his physical condition isn't ideal. His champion mentality and racing instincts can turn the tide at unexpected moments. Marc's cautious stance was echoed by his younger brother, Alex Marquez. Alex openly stated that Marc didn't want to rush his return to the track just to meet public expectations or succumb to the pressure of the competitive atmosphere. According to Alex, Marc made the decision to ensure he was fully prepared, physically, mentally, and emotionally, for his return to riding at the highest level. Fans were disappointed, though they understood the reasoning. Many had hoped to see Marc dominate from the opening race and recapture his champion aura. Many observers see this approach as a sign of maturity in a true champion. Once known for his aggressiveness, recklessness, and constant pushing of limits, Marc Márquez now appears to be a more controlled rider who relies on consistency, experience, and racing acumen to read situations. As the factory team, Ducati has shown full support, understanding that a legend like Marquez needs time and patience to return to top form. The Italian team continues to prepare a well-thought-out bike and strategy while carefully monitoring the reigning champion's recovery progress. Conversely, the grand narrative of MotoGP 2026 is becoming more complex due to the contrasting performances of its main rivals. Francesco Bagnaia, for example, has been plagued by bad luck at crucial moments. His raw speed is undeniable, yet a series of small mistakes, suboptimal starts, and minor incidents continue to cost him crucial points. This situation has led to mounting psychological pressure, especially when his performance is compared to Marc Márquez's consistency and composure on the track. Meanwhile, the shadow of Valentino Rossi looms large over this season's storyline once again. Rossi's legendary records, long considered untouchable, now seem more attainable. Marquez rarely openly expresses his ambition to break these milestones, but his performance with Ducati speaks louder than words. Every podium, every victory, and every crucial finish is a stepping stone that brings him closer to making MotoGP history. Amid the intense scrutiny of Marquez's condition, serious turmoil has erupted within the Yamaha camp. The Japanese factory team is reportedly experiencing its most unstable phase in recent seasons. Fabio Quartararo, long Yamaha's mainstay, is reportedly showing signs of frustration due to the bike's stagnant performance. During several closed paddock sessions, Quartararo voiced his dissatisfaction with the development direction of the 2026 bike. Although Yamaha promised significant improvements in acceleration and rear tyre grip, the results of pre-season testing have not fully met expectations. While Yamaha is anxious, Aprilia is stealing the spotlight with an aggressive move that has surprised many. The NOLA-based team is said to have developed an extreme new aerodynamic package, which is said to be the most radical since the modern MotoGP ground effect era began. Several rival riders have acknowledged Aprilia's strength in long race simulations. Their advantage lies not just in fast single laps, but also in consistent pace, which has historically been a weakness for non-Ducati teams. If these innovations prove effective in races, Aprilia has the potential to challenge the title favourites, especially on technical circuits. In the KTM camp, the situation is no less tense. Their ambition to become world champions is creating internal pressure. Pedro Acosta, touted as a potential star, is now in the spotlight, but the high expectations surrounding him create a dilemma. KTM management is reportedly struggling to balance motorcycle development between Acosta's needs and those of the other riders. If not handled carefully, this conflict of interest could disrupt the team's stability. Some observers say that KTM is at a critical juncture. Meanwhile, Honda is still grappling with a lengthy transition period following the end of their dominant era. Despite signs of progress, the RC213V's performance is not yet competitive enough for regular podium finishes. Honda's focus is now more realistic, shifting from chasing instant results to building a long-term foundation. However, behind this conservative approach, Honda is reportedly preparing a technical surprise to be revealed in the early rounds of the season. If successful, this move could make Honda a dark horse that disrupts the strategies of the top teams. Ultimately, the 2026 MotoGP season teeters on the edge of high expectations and tense uncertainty. Marquez's comeback is no longer framed by the promise of instant domination, but by a more solitary and demanding battle, challenging his own limits amid an increasingly brutal competitive landscape. Can Marquez still turn doubt into strength and return to MotoGP dominance in 2026? Let us know your thoughts below.